Priya wakes up long before the sun, her heart pounding against her ribs for no reason she can name. The house is completely still, yet her body is on high alert, braced for a danger that isn't there. She sits on the edge of the bed, trying to breathe through the invisible tension that coils in her stomach. Beside her, her husband sleeps soundly, and a wave of envy washes over her. His mind is so quiet. In the kitchen, she makes tea, hoping the warmth will somehow steady her trembling hands. But it doesn't stop the thoughts from flooding in a relentless tide of worries, what-ifs, and worst-case scenarios. They are uninvited, and she feels powerless to stop them. At the breakfast table, her daughter chatters excitedly about her day. Priya forces a smile, nodding along, but she's not really there. The words are just sounds, not meanings. She can feel her husband's concerned gaze on her. He senses the distance she's trying so hard to hide. Dinner is another performance. She plays the part of the attentive wife and mother, but it's a hollow act. She pushes him, her words sharp with an urgency he doesn't understand. His quiet disappointment cuts deeper than any argument could. "You'll never be satisfied, Mom," he says softly, turning away. Those words echo in her mind long after the house has gone dark. Standing in front of the mirror, she sees a reflection she barely recognizes, a woman exhausted, overwhelmed, and completely disconnected from her own life. Later that night, her husband gently takes her hand. "Maybe you should talk to someone," he suggests, his voice full of care. But the truth is undeniable. Her own mind has become a prison, and she's suffering. Stepping into Dr. Patel's office feels like crossing a threshold. For the first time in years, Priya speaks her truth, letting the carefully constructed walls crumble. She talks about the constant fear, the racing heart, the feeling of being an imposter in her own life. Patel listens with a calm, steady presence. She explains that Priya's anxiety isn't a direct result of her life events, but of entrenched mental patterns. She introduces a concept Priya has never heard before, Sankhara-Dhukka. It's a kind of suffering born from the mind's own habits. From its conditioned responses, it feels painfully, precisely accurate. Dr. Patel explains how this suffering is fed by cravings: the craving for validation from others, the craving for perfection in everything she does, and the deep, desperate craving to escape any form of discomfort. She's supposed to be meditating, focusing on her breath, but her mind is a wild storm, leaping from worry to worry, from past regrets to future fears. It feels impossible, but she keeps trying. She brings her attention back to her breath, again and again and again. Each time she does it, it's a tiny victory, fragile but real. At dinner one night, she makes a conscious effort to just be present, to really listen to her daughter's story about a school project. Her daughter notices. A genuine smile lights up her face, and for the first time in a long time, Priya feels a flicker of real connection. Priya's purpose starts to crystallize. She doesn't need to be a perfect mom. She just wants to be a calmer mom, a present mom, not an anxious shadow haunting her own family. The panic rises. She works late into the night, and her meditation practice is forgotten. Arjun notices immediately. The familiar tension is back in her voice. The distracted look is back in her eyes. The guilt stings. In her next session, she tells Dr. Patel she failed. The therapist corrects her softly. "You didn't fail, Priya. You relapsed. There's a difference. Now, you just begin again." So the next morning, she does. Her hands are a little shaky, but she sits down to meditate. She begins again. Slowly, gradually, the atmosphere in the house begins to soften. The constant, low-level tension dissipates. She finds herself listening more and worrying a little less. The small moments of peace start to add up. Then comes the day Aryan's university results are due. The familiar surge of panic rises in her chest, automatic and powerful. But this time, something is different. She feels it, acknowledges it, but she doesn't let it take over. She pauses. She takes a breath, and she chooses a new response. She walks over to him and says, "Whatever happens, Arjun, I'm proud of you." He looks stunned, then a wave of relief washes over his face. He passed, but the hug they share afterward means more than any test result. It's a hug of acceptance, of unconditional love, a hug that says, "You are enough." Over time, anxiety begins to lose its grip. It's still there, a visitor that comes and goes, but it's no longer the ruler of her life. She starts to see her thoughts not as absolute truths, but as passing waves in the ocean of her mind. She can watch them rise and fall without being swept away. Her daughter starts asking her for help with art projects again. Her husband tells her she seems lighter, and she feels it too. She stops labeling herself. She no longer says, "I am an anxious person." Instead, she says, "I am feeling anxious right now." The shift is small, but the effect is profound. The emotion loosens its hold. Her connection with her son rebuilds, gently and patiently. He starts sharing more of his life with her, trusting her with his thoughts and feelings. One morning, Priya sits by the window with her cup of tea, just as she used to, but now she's simply aware of her breath, of the quiet stillness of the house. And for the first time, the stillness doesn't frighten her. It feels like peace. In her final therapy session, she admits that she still has anxious days. Dr. Patel smiles warmly. "That just means you're alive," she says. "The goal was never to eliminate anxiety. The goal was to change your relationship with your mind, and you've done that." She realizes she never needed a different life. She just needed a different way to experience the one that was in front of her all along.